This happened a few weeks ago. I was 45 and just went through a messy divorce. I moved to the small town of Maplewood to start fresh. I thought it would help. The rental apartment was in an old schoolhouse. I felt good about this new beginning. The first night I felt some comfort in the brick walls and the nice oak trees outside. I thought I could finally find peace after losing my family. But on my second night, I heard it. The soft tapping against the wall. It sounded like a child playing. I figured it was a neighbor. I didn't worry too much. But the sound didn't stop. It kept going. Days turned into weeks, and the tapping morphed into playful giggles. I tried to brush it off. I focused on my writing instead. Each time I went to the window hoping to see the kids. Nothing. Just shadows moving fast between the trees. It made my heart race. Were my eyes playing tricks on me? I started to doubt my mind. I wondered if I was still holding on to too much from my past. The loss of my own children. I thought of calling someone. Maybe my neighbor. Then I stopped myself. What if they thought I was losing it? One evening the tapping grew louder. It felt urgent, like it was trying to tell me something. I felt my skin turn cold. I shut my laptop hard. I had to get out of the apartment. I opened my window. The air felt heavy. That's when I thought I heard them. My kid's name swirling in the breeze. I looked around. The street was empty. I shut my eyes, fighting the memories. They had moved on. They'd forgotten me. But then, a child's voice floated through the night. "Mommy?" I spun around, stunned. The room was quiet. I felt a wave of dread wash over me. I thought about leaving, finding another place, but this town felt like my last hope. Still, the thought of my kids made my heart ache. Then it happened again. A soft voice called my name, clearer this time. I was frozen in place. I knew then I had to confront whatever was making those sounds. I took a deep breath and stepped toward the wall, my heart pounding. The tapping grew more insistent. I felt a chill. I pressed my ear against the wall. "Who's there?" I whispered, my voice shaky. Silence followed. My heart raced louder, matching the sound in my head. I started to wonder if this was all a dream or possibly my mind breaking. I should have felt scared, but all I felt was a strange pull. I knew I had to know the truth. That voice felt so familiar. It was like a memory I couldn't reach. I knocked on the wall, harder this time. "Please," I begged. "Show yourself." And then I waited. Everything felt still. What was really happening? I didn't know, but I was about to find out. I held my breath, straining to hear if a response would break the silence. It felt like time stretched. Just as I started to feel foolish, a low thud echoed from the other side of the wall. My heart leaped into my throat. I stumbled back, leaning against the desk. The tapping stopped, replaced by an eerie stillness. Just as I began to gather my wits, I felt a draft, as if the air shifted. Then, unexpectedly, I heard a child's laughter, joyful yet distant. It didn't sound right. My chest tightened, almost as if the laughter were laced with sorrow. I glanced toward the window, half expecting to see a figure peering in. But the view remained clear, the trees swaying gently in the night breeze. "Is someone there?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. I didn't expect an answer, but hope mingled with my fear. All I wanted was some clarity, a sense of what I was dealing with. A rustle came from the corner of the room, and I turned quickly, my heart racing. I squeezed my eyes shut for a brief second, wishing it would all go away. But deep down, I knew I had to face whatever was happening. I moved toward the far wall, tracing my fingers along the surface. I was startled when my fingers brushed against a rough crevice. I hadn't noticed it before. Curious, I pressed further, and to my surprise, a small door creaked open. It was just above my head, hidden away in the wall. "What the hell?" I muttered to myself. My heart pounded as I glanced back to ensure I was alone. Nothing indicated I should reach for the door, yet I felt drawn to it. As I hesitated, the giggling resumed, louder now. I could hear snippets of words mixed in, almost as if they were trying to tell me something. "Mommy? Help us!" Panic set in. I shouldn't be here. Not like this. I turned to leave, but the door lingered in my mind, like an itch I couldn't scratch. I reached up again and pulled it fully open, and darkness spilled from the cavity. I felt a cold wind rush around me, wrapping around my legs. "Mommy?" The voice called again, and this time it was right in front of me, filling the empty space. I swung my eyes back to the room, expecting to see my children standing there. But there was nothing, just the open door and the chilling void beyond it. I swallowed hard, mind racing. I wanted to run, but something else kept me anchored to the spot. A fleeting thought came to me. What if I wasn't losing my mind? What if this was their way of reaching out? I felt compelled to step into the darkness, to see what lay beyond. That childlike whisper haunted me, blending with my memories. That was it. I had to know. Without a moment's more delay, I stepped forward. Then everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, I found myself in a dimly lit room. The air was thick and stale, and a musty smell hung all around me. Panic surged through me. I blinked a few times, trying to understand what was happening. My heart raced as I realized I wasn't in my office anymore. I turned around, but the walls were covered in peeling wallpaper, faded with age. Shadows danced in the corners, and I could hear soft whispers, like echoes of children's voices. They were familiar, yet unnerving. "Come play with us," a voice urged, sweet and innocent. Another chimed in. "We're waiting." It made my skin crawl. The laughter that followed felt like nails on a chalkboard, full of longing yet edged with something sinister. "Where am I?" I asked aloud, but my voice barely cut through the suffocating silence. I took a step forward and the floor creaked beneath me, as if warning me to turn back. But I had to move. Curiosity pulled me deeper into the unsettling space. To my left stood a wooden chest, its surface scarred and dented. The lid was slightly ajar, revealing a glimpse of something sparkly within. I felt an inexplicable urge to open it, my fingers itching to touch whatever lay inside. When I lifted the lid, I discovered a collection of toys. Old, dusty dolls with missing buttons for eyes and worn-out stuffed animals. My breath caught as I recognized them. These were the toys from my children's room, the very same ones they had cherished years ago. How did they end up here? "Mommy, play with us," the voices called again, and my heart sank. An instinct told me to run, but another part of me needed answers. I reached into the chest, pulling out a ragged teddy bear. "Where are you?" I whispered, the words escaping before I could think. I felt absurd talking to a toy, but something told me this bear held a connection to my past. Suddenly the air grew colder. The whispers swelled around me, blending into a cacophony. "Mommy, help us!" It felt like a plea, a cry that pierced through me. Just as I started to process my fear, I heard something else, an unmistakable sound. The front door of the room slammed shut, echoing in the hollow space. My heart pounded and I spun around, eyes wide. "Someone's here!" I gasped, my pulse racing as shadows began to shift and swirl. I was not alone. Then the light flickered, and I caught a glimpse of movement, a small figure darting past the doorway. It was quick, too quick for my mind to register. My breath quickened, nerves shot through me. I didn't come for this. Wait! I called after it, but as I took a step forward, the figure vanished into the darkness, leaving me to face the looming presence that surrounded me. What was happening? The darkness felt alive, wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. I backed away, realizing then that my curiosity had led me into something I didn't understand. That's when I saw it. A flicker of light glinted from where the figure had disappeared. It urged me to follow, promising the answers I sought, but also terrifying me with what lay ahead. I hesitated, heart racing. But the whispers grew louder, and with a resolve I didn't fully feel, I stepped deeper into the shadows. The shadows closed around me, thickening like a fog. I felt like I was being pulled into a dream that had turned nightmarish. Each step I took deepened my anxiety. The whispers shifted from playful to desperate, echoing around me with urgency. "Mommy, please." The voice sounded clearer now. A small voice, familiar yet haunting. It was the sound of my daughter, Sophie, when she was scared in the dark. I shivered. As I moved further into the dimness, I caught glimpses of objects from long ago. Old picture frames hanging crookedly on the walls, their glass missing, revealing only faded memories. This place didn't just echo my past, it paraded it in front of me. I spotted a broken rocking chair, one I had diligently restored years ago. My breath hitched as I recognized it as Sophie's favorite. A sudden thought struck me. What if this was an illusion? A trap designed to ensnare me in my own grief? I shook my head, trying to banish the fear that clung to my mind like the dampness in the air. "Stop it!" I shouted, my voice cracking. "You're not real!" I closed my eyes, willing myself to wake up from this nightmare. But when I opened them again, I saw the flicker in the corner of the room. It was brighter this time, a soft golden light pulsing rhythmically. It seemed to pulse with warmth amid the cold dread wrapping around me. Without thinking, I staggered toward it. With each step, a wave of emotions washed over me. The warmth brought memories of laughter, bedtime stories, and the sweet smell of cookies baking. Just a little closer, I whispered to myself, though my heart felt heavy. As I neared the light, I realized it was coming from a door that had cracked open at the far end of the room. It beckoned me like a beacon. When I reached for the handle, though, I hesitated, a cold sweat creeping down my neck. What if it led to something worse? Before I could second-guess myself, I twisted the knob and pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, and I was met with more darkness. This space felt larger, almost cavernous. The air shifted again, heavy with a sense of expectation. Then I saw them. Children. Their faces were blurred, but the laughter was the same. It curled around me, awakening a mix of nostalgia and sorrow. They played and danced in the dark, oblivious to my presence. I felt drawn to them, but the deeper I listened, the more it morphed into something disconcerting. "Mommy, come play," they called in unison. The cheerful tone masked something darker, a sense of urgency. Something was wrong. Then, abruptly, the door behind me slammed shut once more, trapping me in this vast darkness. I turned in panic, my heart pounding in my chest. The laughter ceased, replaced with whispers, pleas for help. "Mommy, please help us." The words struck me deep, filling me with dread. I realized these weren't just echoes of children playing. This was a warning. I spun back toward the flickering light, but it began to fade. My body tensed in desperation. I had to reach it before it disappeared into the night. "Wait!" I cried out, aiming for the retreating glow. But the shadows shifted again. A dark presence loomed behind me. It was watching. Something was here, and I had to face it. As the light flickered for the last time, a chilling voice broke through the silence. You shouldn't have come back. I froze, fear coursing through me like ice. Someone, or something, was waiting. And somehow I knew I was about to find out the truth. I could barely breathe. The darkness felt alive around me, tightening its grip. I turned slowly, the weight of dread settling in my stomach. Then I saw him. An outline in the shadows, a figure just beyond my reach. He stood still, watching me with an unsettling calmness. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice wavering despite my effort to sound brave. The childlike laughter eerily echoed in my ears, merging with the fear bubbling up inside me. "Do you really not remember?" His voice was deep and resonant, like thunder rolling through the night. It sent shivers through me. "Remember what?" I pleaded, forcing myself to maintain eye contact, unwilling to show my fear. "You left us," he continued, stepping forward into the flickering light. My heart raced as his features came into sharper focus. He looked familiar, yet I couldn't place him. But I haven't forgotten. His eyes bore into mine, wide and filled with something I couldn't identify. Sadness? Anger? I took a step back, feeling the shadows coiling around my feet like chains. "What do you mean? Who are you?" He smiled, but it was unsettling. "This isn't a game, Mommy. This is where we come to find you." The memories flooded back, fragments of laughter and joy sliced by the sudden ache of loss. My heart felt squeezed in a vice. "No, this can't be real. I didn't leave you. I was just trying to protect you." "Protect us?" He laughed, a sound devoid of joy. "But you turned your back. We had to stay here, waiting in the dark." His words rattled me. I shook my head, trying to drown them out. "You're wrong. I did what I thought was best. You all were safe. I never meant—" "Safe? Safe from what?" He interrupted, stepping closer. I could see now, a crowd of shadows shifting behind him. Children, all looking like they came from the same mold. All waiting. "We only wanted you back." Panic surged through me. I staggered away, desperate to escape this scene unraveling around me. I spun back toward the door, hoping to find an exit from this hell. But the darkness loomed closer, thick as smoke. Suddenly a cold wind rushed in, wrapping around me like a predator closing in on prey. The whispers escalated, rising in urgency. "Help us, Mommy! Help us!" Their voices blended into a haunting cacophony. I pressed my hands to my ears, trying to block it out. It was too much. Every name I'd given them flickered through my mind like the worst kind of déjà vu. That's when I saw it. A glimmer in the distance. A tiny spark illuminating the shadows. My heart raced. What was it? Light? Hope? "Don't go toward that," the boy warned, his voice rising above the noise. "You'll only make things worse." But I didn't care. I had to reach that light. I pushed through the deepening darkness, ignoring the agonized whispers. With every step, the shadows clawed at me, dragging me back. And then everything went dark. The spark vanished. I was plunged into a void where time seemed to freeze. I screamed, but no sound escaped my lips. The shadows tightened around me, and I felt tears streaming down my face. Somewhere in that black abyss, a new realization crept in. I was no longer just searching for a way out. I was about to discover why I'd left them behind. But that left me with one question. Would I have the courage to face the truth? I gasped as the darkness around me pulsed. A shiver crept down my spine. The tight grip of the shadows felt like ice closing in. I was suffocating. I struggled to breathe, but air slipped away from my lungs. Desperation clawed at me as I squinted into the void. Just when I thought I might drown in that blackness, a new sound broke through. The faintest whisper, almost melodic. It was a name. My name. "Mommy." A voice echoed, softer now. I strained to hear, but it faded, replaced by silence. My heart raced again. I was ready to scream, to lash out at the shadows. But instead, I swallowed hard and focused. I need to wake up, I whispered. This can't be happening. Then, without warning, the shadows shifted. I stumbled as they pulled back slightly, revealing a narrow path, like a street I used to know. The old haunted memories twisted around it, a familiar yet unsettling place. Look, Mommy. A child's voice broke the stillness. I turned frantically, and there they were. Figures in the distance, small familiar shapes emerging. My heart fluttered. Were they real? Wait! I shouted, but the shadows thickened again, clawing at my legs, binding me in place. The children echoed in unison. Come to us! Please don't go. I felt a pleading urge rise within me. I tried to reach for them, but the shadows held me, casting me further into the abyss. Suddenly the boy's face from before swam into view with a brightness that cut through the gloom. You have to remember us. His voice was urgent, pushing me to act. It's the only way back, but how could I remember? I felt lost. I tried to grasp at the edges of those memories, but they slipped through my fingers like grains of sand. Why can't I remember? His eyes narrowed as he stepped closer, the surrounding darkness wavering with uncertainty. Because you chose to forget, he replied slowly, each word heavy with accusation. You thought it was easier. You thought it was better. No, I did it for you. Did you? The challenge in his question made me falter. The other shadows around him seemed to nod in agreement. Panic surged again, this time with a hatred so strong I could barely focus. I never meant to hurt you. But you did, he said matter-of-factly. And now you're trapped. We're trapped. My heart thundered. Trapped? The shadows pulsed, growing bolder, soaking up my fear. What do you mean? A gust of wind rushed through the void, and the shadows rumbled in response. If you don't remember, you can't save us. With dread creeping back in, a memory sparked, a single fleeting glimpse, a room filled with laughter, children playing, a happy chaos. I clung to it desperately. I have to get to them. In the light, the boy urged, as the path behind him shimmered like a mirage. But you must choose. Will you seek the truth? My breath caught. I didn't know if I was ready for what that truth might be. But another voice, soft and pleading, broke through the din. Mommy, please. I locked eyes with the boy, understanding hitting me like a wave. I'll try. I whispered. I'll try. As I began to move toward the fleeting glimmer again, a roar echoed through the shadows. They surged forward, eager to swallow me whole. I could either step into that light or be consumed by the darkness forever. I leaped toward the light, feeling it tug at my very essence. For a moment the world became a blur of colors. I was weightless, free. But then the shadows lunged, fierce and relentless. They snarled, elongating, desperate to cling to me, to pull me back into their clutches. I stumbled into that gleaming path, my heart racing, uncertain of what lay ahead. The light enveloped me, warm and inviting, contrasting sharply with the icy fingers attempting to drag me down. Please let this be real. I breathed, each word a prayer. As I pressed forward, I glimpsed fleeting images drifting like ghosts. I saw a swing set swaying in a breeze, laughter cut off too soon. Shadows danced between the trees, their forms distorted, merging with those joyous moments. Don't look back, the boy had said. But could I really forget the past? Mommy! That voice called to me again, and I froze. My heart dropped. I blinked, and suddenly I was in a sunlit park. Green grass stretched out, children laughing, the air filled with joy. My kids, my babies were here, running and playing, but their faces were blurred. My memories jumped like flickering frames on an old projector. Where were their smiles? Why did they seem so distant, almost ethereal? Panic started to blossom again. I need to see them. I need to remember. I reached out, desperate to grasp those shapes, to pull them close, to hold their warmth. But the sounds shifted. The laughter morphed into haunting echoes. Mommy, where are you? They seemed to scatter, retreating into the corners of this reality. The shadows at my back tightened their grip, feeding off my fear. Then, right in front of me, a shimmering figure emerged. A girl with hair like spun gold, her eyes wide with fear and longing. Mom? She murmured, hesitating as if unsure if it was truly me. I'm here! I'm here! I shouted, every inch of my being aching to bridge the gap. But she was hesitant, like a phantom caught between worlds. Don't be afraid. Please remember me. But then her expression faded. Mommy, don't leave us again. Those words struck me hard. I recalled a time when I was the one who left, who turned my back. The shadows behind me hissed, and I realized I was still being pulled backward, deeper into their depths. No, I cried. You can't take me. The boy's warning rushed back. Seek the truth. If I was going to save them, I had to confront whatever I'd buried. Wait, I yelled, reaching closer to the girl. I won't run anymore. I'll remember. Just help me. But as I stepped forward, a jagged shadow shot between us. It lunged at her, chilling the air around me. I screamed, the sound echoing through the park, blending with the child's whimper. Then I realized. Everything I feared was manifesting right before me. The figure in the shadow was shifting, twisting features into something familiar yet twisted. You did this, it taunted. You made the choice. All at once, everything darkened. The park dissolved around me, and I was thrust back into the void. My heart raced as I grasped for anything that felt real. Suddenly, I felt an icy presence brush against me. It was closer than it had ever been, and now I was more certain than ever. I had to confront the truth. I was enveloped in darkness, struggling to breathe. The icy presence was no longer behind me. It pressed against my chest, squeezing the air from my lungs. Panic surged once again. My mind raced with thoughts of my children. What if they were lost forever, just like this darkness was threatening to swallow me whole? Then, out of the suffocating blackness, I saw it, the light beckoning me once again. It shimmered like a beacon far away, fragile and distant, and I felt drawn to it. I pushed through the void, dragging my heavy limbs toward the glow, desperate for answers, desperate for warmth. As I stepped closer, the light expanded, revealing a scene that could only exist in memories. I caught a glimpse of a cozy living room filled with toys scattered across the floor. I recognized the bright colors, the familiar smell of popcorn wafting through the air. My heart ached, but there was a difference. The room was empty. I felt a sting of hurt slice through me. Where are they? I whispered, searching for signs of life. Shadows clung to the corners, shifting as if they were watching, waiting to pounce. I knew they were hungry for doubt, eager to pull me under once more. Mommy? A timid voice broke the silence. I turned, but there was no one there. Only silence greeted me, wrapped in the whisper of the past. I shivered, realizing the coldness was growing. I'm right here, I yelled, hoping my voice would reach whoever it called. I'm coming back! Just hold on! Suddenly I stumbled. An unseen force yanked me backward, and I fell into the shadows. They swirled around me, fierce and chaotic. The echo of children's laughter morphed into eerie cries. My heart thundered as I fought to break free. "Get away from me!" I screamed, flailing against the dark shapes. But their murmurs grew louder. "You left us." Their voices were layered, overlapping each other in a haunting chant. "You chose to forget." "No," I protested, desperation pooling in my chest. "I never chose this. I've always wanted you." The shadows flared, reacting to my words. I could feel their power regrouping, feeding off my anguish. In that moment of clarity, I heard the boy's voice echoing through the haze. "Seek the truth." The realization crashed into me. The truth had always been there, buried underneath layers of regret. I couldn't ignore it anymore. "Fine," I shouted, trembling yet resolute. "I'll face it. Just show me." As if in response, the shadows yielded slightly. Within the dark, a shimmering figure flickered, forming and dissolving like fog. I squinted, trying to see what it was. Then the image solidified. It was a moving photo of my children, their faces full of smiles, but layered with so much sadness that it looked like a heavy weight was pressing down upon them. My breath hitched. No. What have I done? The pain of their lost years rushed through me, a wound too deep to heal. And then, just as suddenly, they faded from view, leaving behind a tumult of shadows that roared with laughter. That's when I saw it. A glimmer, a silver object that sparkled against the dark. Was it a clue? Or yet another trap? The shadows recoiled, as if afraid of what I might do. I reached for it, feeling a surge of hope for the first time. "I need to find you," I murmured, gripping that silver thing tightly. But just as I pulled it closer, the shadows came rushing back, clawing at my side. "You'll never escape!" they screamed, their voices melding into an overwhelming roar. I could feel their fury and despair, and I knew I had to act fast. I took a deep breath and summoned every ounce of courage I had left. "You can't stop me," I cried, raising the glinting object high. What came next would change everything. The shadows recoiled as I lifted the silver object. It sparkled brighter, illuminating the darkness around me. I felt a shift in their energy, as if the shadows were no longer in control. "What are you?" I demanded, my voice steadying, the object twisted in my grip. It was a locket, intricately designed with a figure etched on one side. It looked remarkably like a child, but the details were obscured by the whispering darkness. I felt drawn to it, desperation pushing me forward. "I need to see what's inside," I thought, even as the shadows writhed in anger. "Mommy!" The soft voice echoed again, this time louder, more panicked. My heart raced. I could almost place the voice. "Where are you?" I called out, straining against the shadows that wanted to swallow me whole. I took a deep breath and snapped open the locket. Its hinges creaked, and I blinked as miniature portraits surfaced, illuminated by a warm golden hue that pushed back the shadows momentarily. There they were. My children, their smiles radiant. Yet their eyes held a depth of something I couldn't pinpoint. A warning? A longing? Before I could process it, the dark figures lunged again, more ferocious this time. "You think you can find them? You've forgotten," they screeched, their cacophony mixing with the sound of my pounding heart. "No, I refuse to forget." The words escaped my lips with strength I hadn't known I possessed. Maybe it was the light from the locket, or the energy surging through me, but I was done being afraid. I closed my other hand around the locket, determined to fight. With all my might I shouted, "Show me the truth!" The shadows hesitated, and with that moment of doubt, I felt a wave of warmth wash over me. The light from the locket flickered, enchanting the dark and shifting the landscape around me. Suddenly the shadows peeled away to reveal a path, one that twisted toward the heart of the unknown. I hesitated. I wanted to run down that path to find my children, to pull them from whatever abyss had kept them from me. But I could hear their laughter, their voices weaving in and out of my thoughts. They wanted me to remember, to forgive myself. But could I do it? Bursting with urgency, I took that first step. The path felt warm beneath my feet, but as I moved deeper, the shadows tried to envelop me again, ice-cold fingers clawing at my skin. I gritted my teeth and pressed on, remembering my children's laughter, their innocence. And then, just as I thought I might escape, something shifted once more. The shadows released a high-pitched wail, and the last thing I saw before everything went black was the locket. Its glow dimming until it was extinguished. Then everything went silent. I woke abruptly, gasping for breath as I collided with solid ground. My chest felt tight, a heavy weight of something I couldn't fully identify pressing against me. I blinked rapidly, filtering through the dimness surrounding me. My body felt disoriented, a surreal heaviness settling in my thoughts. Slowly I registered the faint light filtering in through a window, illuminating the edges of familiar shapes. A table, a chair, the old oak tree I could see swaying gently outside. I was back in my apartment, yet the memory of the shadows lingered like an unresolved chord. I scrambled to the window, leaning forward in anticipation. Outside, the town of Maplewood was draped in the soft glow of dawn. The neighborhood looked ordinary, peaceful even. I should have felt relieved, but a shiver ran down my spine as I recalled the haunting words of the shadowed children, their cries echoing in my ears. "Mommy, where are you?" The memories of their pleas crawled back, each one bitterly sweet, a reminder of choices I couldn't undo. I forced myself to breathe, listening hard for the playful giggles, the taps behind the wall that had haunted me for weeks. But there was only silence. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I felt something like respite wash over me. Maybe I'd escaped whatever darkness had taken me, but a gnawing unease lingered. Had I forgotten them again? Was it truly over? As I stepped away from the window, a glimmer caught my eye at the edge of the table. A small silver locket. The intricately designed surface shimmered in the early morning light, calling to me in a way that was impossible to ignore. It hadn't been there before. I reached out, fingers trembling as I picked it up. A chill ran up my spine as I stared into its reflective surface, half expecting to see the ghostly remnants of my past staring back at me. Instead, a moment of warmth surged through me. I opened the locket cautiously. Inside, the portraits remained untouched. Images of my children, their faces beaming with sunlight, and unearthing feelings I thought I had buried deep. As I took in the sight, I thought about the shadows that had haunted my dreams, the laughter entwined with sorrow. They weren't simply figments of my grief. They were fragments of a truth I'd pushed away. Yet, as the tenderness of those memories washed over me, a flutter of doubt whispered in the back of my mind. Could I live with the weight of it all? Would I dare to face the past? Or would I reclaim a future devoid of the ache that came with remembering? I left the locket open on the table, feeling as if it had carved out a space for both memory and possibility. I moved toward the door, but at the threshold, I hesitated again, glancing back at the object resting against the sunlight. My heart ached with indecision. "Mommy." I thought I heard the softest voice call out once more, barely a whisper carried on the wind. Or maybe just an echo of guilt and longing. The line between the world I escaped and the one I returned to felt threadbare. I stepped out into the morning light and closed the door behind me, filling the silence with the echoes of laughter in my head. I walked down the street toward the park, unsure of who might still be watching. I didn't know if I was still being chased by shadows, or if I was finally free. But one thing pressed heavy in my heart. I couldn't forget them. Perhaps in remembering, they might be free too. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for today.